I'm writing Christmas cards. Like this one here is going to Mark and Joanna Williamson. Hi, Mark. Hi, Joanna. Mark actually was in a video last year on the Brothers Karamazov. Check those out. And Joanna is part of the Societas Pauli. You can find those people on the website, Sanctus Institute. And Sanctus is kind of this, is like concentric circles, and there are people like subscribers, please do subscribe, and people who are on the almost monthly newsletter, Sanctus Institute, to sign up for that. And there's people who give to the charity aspect of Sanctus, and there's people like Mark and Joanna who are just sort of dear people who have kind of found us, supported us from the beginning, and I try to write Christmas cards to them because it's Advent here. And hey everybody, welcome to the Sanctus Forum. I am Michael Stewart Robb, better known as Mike. And today I want to talk about the spirituality of Christmas and why a lot of people get it wrong and what you can do to get it right. One of the things that got to me, one of the things that has got me thinking about this is I have been reading some books, old books, related to the part of America that I was born in and grew up in, which is Ohio. And Ohio was kind of a frontier state for about late 1700s, 1800s, and so it was so frontier that one of the other states, Connecticut, had organized what they called a missionary society, and they were going to send people over to Ohio, this frontier part of the country, and these missionaries were going to meet the both European settlers who were there as well as the Native Americans who were there, and tell them about the spirituality of Christmas. And what was interesting to me, what really stands out to me, is they called them missionaries. Missionary was a kind of a new word for Protestants, and they were pretty excited about it as a new word. But when they wanted to sort of explain what a missionary was, the word that they fell back on was a teacher. We are going to send you teachers. And it's really interesting. They actually got people who could teach. When they decided to send missionaries, they didn't just send anybody. They sent people who actually had something to say and somebody who could lead others into what the spirituality of Christmas was about. We've been talking about how evangelism, which I have been calling the shadow side of Western spirituality, talking about how evangelism is congruent with Western spirituality, and not all ways of doing it, or people who call themselves evangelists or missionaries do it in a congruent way. We've already talked about showing, and we've talked about the importance of relationships. But today I want to talk about why those Connecticut people, what do you call somebody from Connecticut? Why those Connecticuters thought of their missionaries as teachers. And to make sense of this, you have to realize that Western spirituality is a study in reality. And the whole idea is that you're going to study reality, and then you're going to come to something that we call knowledge, and then that knowledge is going to give you the right and responsibility to teach. And now that little line of argument is probably not something that a lot of people think about Western spirituality, and I want to get into the reasons for that. I really have two ideas. The first is that we've been told that spirituality is about encounter with the unknown, or experience with the unknown. It has something to do with something numinous, something that we can't quite understand and grasp, and yet these experiences with it are valuable and interesting and are at the center of what life is about. Now, that's not actually even true of spirituality. Most spiritualities do come in the form of having some sort of teaching. And even that last line that I said about, well, this is what life is about, these experiences, that's teaching. That's a decision that somebody has made based on what they think about what reality is. And not only is that not true of spirituality as some sort of strange general concept, but it's not true of Western spirituality or the spirituality of Christmas. And I think part of the interest in this, the unknown aspects and experience, and to use an expensive word, mysticism, is it's kind of a reaction against the spirituality of Christmas reducing to just a study of history or just deductions or things that we don't actually have any direct contact with, and we just kind of think about it and develop theories about it. And that's also not an accurate description of the spirituality of Christmas. But I think this is just a case where practitioners of Western spirituality don't actually understand what they actually do, and that they actually still do things quite like Jesus does, and they teach people who come to them, and then at some point they may introduce them or may not introduce them to experiences with things that can't be understood with mysticism or something like that. But usually there's a large portion of greeting new people into Western spirituality in which they're just teaching them. Catechism is the expensive word for this. We just introduce people to this, and we introduce people to this through teachers, through people who know, and these are people who know because they have actually studied reality. And that, again, is at the heart of the spirituality of Christmas. Now, that's the one thing. The other thing is that there's this slogan, I don't know where it really comes, well, it's not true. I do know where it comes from, but it's this idea that everybody is an evangelist and everybody is a missionary. And maybe you haven't heard that if you don't go to church. And if you do go to church, I'd be kind of surprised if you hadn't heard it by this point. But it's this idea that, everybody should be doing this work of evangelism and missionary. You don't have to, go to another part of the world to be a missionary, and you can do that right where you are. And I want to say that that's 80% false. And the false part, which is what I'll focus on now, is the fact that not everybody is capable of teaching other people. In order to teach other people, you have to have knowledge. I mean, what point would there be? And in order to have knowledge, you have to have engaged in some kind of study of reality or what life. You have to sort of have a sense of this is it. I've found it, and now I know how to show other people how to find it. And frankly, just not everybody's been equipped to do that. And that's why everybody can't be an evangelist or a missionary. And it's also why when those people in Connecticut sent people to my part of the country, they sent people who were qualified to be teachers. This is why I think people get the spirit of Christmas or the spirituality of Christmas wrong. They think of this sort of spirituality as something that's really easy and can be reduced to just very basic points. And on one level, that is true. You do have to start somewhere, but really, seriously, it's not true, because there's a lot more to Western spirituality than just those basic, simple points. Now, what would you have to do to get the spirit of Christmas right? Well, I think for everybody, the basic answer is learn. Find a way to study and learn. Become somebody who's interested in what Jesus has to say and tries to think about it and make sense of it. And that might be the best Christmas Advent sort of thing that you can do, is find some way to study. Obviously this is not going to be the sort of thing that's going to be finished on a holiday. You're going to have to maybe have a plan for next year, or maybe for 3 years, of how you're going to learn more. And I wish Sanctus did a lot more of these things. We do recommend books here, and books are a great way to learn. It'd be a great time to sort of announce a class that I'm doing, but I don't have a class that I'm doing right now. I'd like to do a book club. If anybody is interested in being a part of a German-speaking book club, let me know. Wir müssen dann eine andere Sprache sprechen, and if you've understood that, then you're an ideal candidate for this book club. But let me know. Send an email, info@sanctus.institute, and we'll see what we can do. The other thing is, for the spirit of Christmas, not just to learn, but to teach. And finding, teach a class, write a book, give a lecture. These are expressions of Western spirituality, and they are very important for evangelism. When we invite people to be friends of Jesus, we want to have people around who know what they're talking about, and for that reason can teach. Subscribe and sign up for the almost monthly newsletter at sanctus.institute, and we will see you another time in the next chapter. I always have to say this with this weird melody. Bye. That one might be long.